really liked how Chase was doing his approach with email marketing, which was as holistic and also human focused as previous speaker Daniel told us. He was creating the brand which was coming from customer. So the same way Chase was doing his approach in email marketing. So we started using his approach to grow, and from all the market players, all different email marketing guys, his approaches was the best one that helped us really to grow to our brands to 8 figures and even 9 figures. So I'm very happy to introduce you our next speaker, Chase Dimond, first time in our community, and I appreciate a lot that you have joined us.
Yeah,
Chase,
stoked to be here.
please. Yeah.
All right, man.
So, yeah, it's a great pleasure, to have you here. Okay, Chase. We have about 45 minutes, and I know you have tons of information to share, and our, catchy headline about how you made 150 million revenue and sent 1 billion emails. When we were doing call advertising, people were usually like commenting like, okay, so it was a lot of spam and crazy guys. But I know you're doing really good emails and people love to read. So maybe can you tell us a little bit more how to be so focused to your customers, how to create this kind of content, not maybe in a logical way, because I know it's kind of emotional on one part and also logical. So do you have your own strategy, like process that you can really share from you, or just about you as an top voice in email marketing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm excited to be here. I think with email, I think what people get wrong, right, is they just try to push sales and discounts down people's throats through no end, right? They'll send daily emails or tons of emails that just push 10% off, 20% off, buy, right? Fake scarcity, fake ursity. And people, can read through the lines, right? They're over the BS. They don't want to just be sold to all the time, right? So I think like our approach really stems from giving as much value as possible and really meeting our subscribers and our customers where they are in their journey. So that the person that is new to your list shouldn't be receiving the same content that someone who's bought from you 4 or 5 times as your VIP customer, right? So I think like from the very top, how you acquire your subscribers all the way through the types of content you send them needs to be differentiated. There's not like a one size fits all. And whether someone's bought from you or not, you need to treat them differently. So say someone's never bought from you, you might want to show them testimonials and reviews from first-time buyers. So that way they can envision themselves in those shoes, right? You can speak to where they are. I was like you, Nick, before I tried X, Y, and Z product, right? You're wearing Lacoste shirt. Before I tried Lacoste shirt, man, I was stuck with all these other shirts that shrunk every time I washed them. Every single time I wore them, and whenever I sweat, they really start to stink, right? So really being able to speak to the person where they are is so important. Email right now, in my opinion, is the best channel for that. I think Facebook and Meta products used to be the best when there was a lot more data available, but they're like iOS 14, iOS 14.5, all the Cambridge Analytica scandals that happen. The data available on Meta is good, but not nearly as good as it used to be. And email now, in my opinion, is that central hub in that database where what people have viewed, what they've added to cart, what they've purchased, where they've dropped off, what emails they've read, a bunch of things about where they're located. So in my opinion, being really kind of intentional about the data that sits within your CRM, the SendLane account or the Klaviyo account or the MailChimp, like whatever you're using, you have to really build out the segments and understand the customer profile. So that was a lot. Where do you want me to kind of focus more in? There's a lot, obviously, we can dive into.
Yeah, it's a lot. And usually I want to share first misconception I hear all the time. Getting, sometimes I also speak to just starting e-commerce founders. They never think even that email is a big thing. They always want to go to the drugstore, which is Meta or Google, with all ads. I compare them to drugs. It's pretty similar. Like you cannot stop if you start using them. So organic channels, they are much better. And like, yes, firstly, you need the audience. So you need somehow to get them from ads and then collect your email list. you need to use it first, but then, like you told us, focusing there is very important, because if you you're like in 2023 and 24, I cannot see you really scaling with ads if you don't know how to sell the second, the third time. And it's only possible with emails, of course, with text messages at some point, but never to be spammy. First, you need to create this kind of approach. So when you focus there in emails and start thinking how to grow, the main misconception for them is that just they look at it linearly. So they just, see it like a list, and they send to all the list all the time, like the same emails. And usually they, okay, I see sales only from discounted emails, like you told at the beginning. So then the first misconceptions, it doesn't work like this. So even the basic information, if they don't click on email, they won't buy. It's technically not possible. If they don't read and click on link and go on your website, they cannot buy. It's not possible technically. So first you need, to grow this audience this way, so they will read you or engage with you, and then they will follow your website, and they also need to be engaged on the website. So it's all about how you do all your content, So can you focus us here? How the small, e-commerce guy who just started maybe with several products, it's best luck, sometimes it's even mono product, like some, I won't speak that this is a mistake, just go and catch trendy products, but let's imagine they have a very good one product or several products, not much. What's the best way to grow your segments, and really focusing, for example, Klaviyo, and start, growing this machine into some, it's a step-by-step funnel, logically or differently?
Yeah. All right. So there's a lot I want to talk about. So to your point, right? You have to drive traffic. Let's assume you have the traffic, whether it's from affiliates or Meta or organic SEO, right? Influencers, you have traffic. That's step one. So step two is we have to capitalize on this traffic. And with that, right, we have to start collecting emails. And there's a few ways we do it. One is through a pop-up, right? It takes over the center part of the screen or portion of the screen. The other one is called a flyout. It typically comes from like the bottom right-hand side. It's like a little mini opt-in form. People could add their email at checkout, or if they make a purchase, right? That's how we collect it. But what do we want to collect, right? So number one, it's in our forms, right? We want to try to understand, other than email, gender, what are they shopping for? What are they looking for? So that way, as quickly as possible, we can personalize their experience. So say you're an apparel company, right? You're selling this t-shirt, you sell for men and women, you sell a bunch of different clothing things. If we can learn who someone is, whether they're male or female, and what they're looking for, maybe I'm looking for myself, or maybe I'm looking for my wife or my brother or my dad. Then from the very beginning with the welcome series for non-buyers, we can start personalizing that. So Nick, let's just say you're looking for yourself, right? So you're a man looking for, yourself. You might be looking for men's t-shirts or men's jeans. We would then show you those items that are specifically for men's, and we want to highlight things like best sellers, the things that are popular, right? If other people like them and they're popular, there's a chance too that you're going to like them. We're going to have a lot of reviews that can speak to you where you are. So that's number one, is with our forms, we want to learn as much as possible about the person. And then with that, right, like how do we enrich your profile? How do we enrich Nick's profile within our CRM throughout the funnel? The next one is behavioral tagging. So what are you clicking on the website? What are you doing on the website? What are you doing within the email? Are you clicking on the header navigation that says best sellers? Are you clicking on sale, right? If you're clicking on sale, maybe we do need to show you discounts throughout the funnel. Maybe you're a bargain shopper and you're only going to convert if you click on discounts. What links and buttons are you clicking on? Like what types of call to actions are working on you? And what are the categories and the products and the pages that you viewed? Maybe right now you're in the market for t-shirts and you don't really care about shorts or sandals or shoes. So we should show you more of the things that you're interested in. Let's show you the best 6 or the best 10 t-shirts that you might be interested in. And then we'll pay attention entirely throughout your funnel. What are the things that you added to cart? What were the things that you left behind at checkout? Are there any patterns that we should notice between this? You have 3 different white t-shirts or 3 different black t-shirts. Should we try to sell you a bundle of those 3 at a lesser price? So instead of paying $100 for the 3 same shirts, should we try to show you a bundle at $80 if you buy that in the next 24 hours? Where are you based, right? Maybe you're based, I'm in Orange County, California. It's always warm here. maybe I should show you short sleeve t-shirts versus long sleeve t-shirts, right? So we're just trying to understand based off of what you're doing at scale, the patterns in which every time we collect your email and collect a data point about you, we should send you, right? So that's, I think, the first point, right? Does that make sense so far?
Oh, it's very hard to understand at first point, but I always also say, like, behind every one case as a customer, when you try to look at him, and as you told, check a location. And for example, okay, this guy, he's from Orange County, California, and maybe we know what he was looking at the website. Every case is just one case you got, but for real, there is much more on website. People that never arrive to your pop-up and something. So, and if you have 2 cases, 3 cases, it's much more people behind this. And when you optimize the funnel, the flow on website on this, and you don't just stick with catalog-based websites, but you really think about the customer, you can really develop the funnel and then sell. And usually, as what I see, people buying on average when you launch, especially like it's 15-day at least conversion, window,
Yep.
attribution for window. And it's better if you convert them in email, not with just, 15 days, 15 clicks. And right now in some niches, clicks cost more than $1. So it's like $15 per acquisition, but with all this advertising, it will cost you 150. So with ads, it's cheaper.
Yes.
Can you maybe a little guide us like in a step-by-step style so people can keep up, because it's really very important but very hard information for them. So how you, for example, will launch it, let's say in a flow first, or first you would suggest to go with campaigns and just track every campaign with this deep approach, with customer-based approach, check every customer, what he did and everything.
Yeah, I'll make it really easy. Let's talk about segments, and then we'll talk like that are related to campaigns, right? So I think like what people typically get wrong, and I think you kind of were mentioning this at some point, is like what they'll basically do is they'll just take everyone on their list and they'll just batch and blast and send them the exact same content, right? That's one thing people get wrong. Another thing people get wrong is taking it one step further is, say, for example, they want to hit a 90-day segment. So basically, someone has opened or clicked within the last 90 days, or they've joined your list, let's say, in the last 1 to 2 months. And say from that, right, we want to just focus on people that have clicked in the last 90 days. A lot of times people just send to that list and that's it. What I recommend is take the 90-day clickers. So someone has on your list, they've opened and obviously clicked at least one or more emails within 90 days. What we want to do is we want to divide those out into 2 groups: 90-day clickers that have purchased and 90-day clickers that have not purchased, right? So we're going to treat those differently because they have very different behaviors, a very different kind of understanding. So, and I'm going to give you kind of examples for each one. So like for the type of content we'd send. So let's say someone 90-day that has clicked and has purchased versus hasn't purchased, right? For those that have purchased, in terms of the personalization, we're going to want to focus on sending, campaigns and automations that leverage cross-selling and upselling, looking at the purchase history to recommend complementary items. And we're going to do this at scale. So again, people have clicked in the last 90 days that have purchased. When we send them things, we're going to basically reference at scale. And there's tools and there's things out there that it's not like one-to-one. I'm not saying looking at Nick specifically and sending a manual email to Nick. We're doing this with automation. We're doing this with tools where we can find 1,000 Nicks that are all pretty much similar. And we're going to send them all the same or similar content, right? These 1,000 people bought this one SKU or these SKUs. Therefore, they're going to get this email that talks about these SKUs. So for people that have clicked over the last 90 days and bought, we want to focus on understanding their purchase history to make recommendations of things that are complementary. Whereas people that have clicked but haven't purchased, like I kind of mentioned before, we want to focus on things like first-time buyer incentives. So special discounts or a value-added bundle that convince them to purchase. But I have a bunch of other examples. That makes sense so far, where we're going to treat people that have done one action the same, but the secondary action different, slightly different. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. It's still hard to know. Usually, what we do, we first go with basic stuff like non-operant, like those who open emails, engaged, active persons, and then also you need to divide them by demographics.
Start on the top. All right. Let me make this. I'll do like a 101, and then we'll go on to more advanced. Okay. So to do, taking one step back, to do email really, really well, there's a number of things you have to do. We already talked about the first. After you're driving traffic, you have to collect email addresses through pop-ups, let's just say, right? And once someone enters their email into a pop-up, we're going to send them what's called a welcome series for non-buyers. And this is an automation that you set up once and then you edit and optimize ongoing. And let's just say for simplicity, this is going to be 4 emails. So you have traffic to your site. They don't buy anything. They enter their email into a pop-up. Typically, it's some kind of offer or incentive. Hey, Nick, enter your email for 10% off, right? We're then going to send you a sequence of emails saying, hey, Nick, welcome to Chase Dimond's e-commerce brand. We're so excited to have you here. Here's the welcome 10 code that we promised you. Be on the lookout for the next couple of days. We're going to share some of our favorite products in the store. We're going to share some more stuff on success stories of customers like yourself. We're going to share some more information on why we started this and, whatever, right? So we'll send one email like that. The next email we'll send will be like social proof and kind of best recommendations. Then from there, right, we might share like a feel good story about like why we started the company and really what's in it for them. How are we different than all the other competitors? Because at the end of the day, most companies are selling the exact same thing as someone else. If you're selling a t-shirt, you're selling the exact same t-shirt most often than a million other people. So you have to differentiate between really connecting with that customer, getting them to like you, humanizing the brand, right? That's why sending emails from the founder or the community person and having a face is super important. And then we'll send emails at the very end that says, by the way, we're the founders. This is us, a picture of our face. If you have any questions, hit respond. We respond to all emails. Let us know, right? So that's kind of the trajectory so far. So someone comes to your website, they enter their email. If they didn't buy, they get a welcome series from buyers. And then right outside of that, we'll have other automations set up. We'll have abandoned carts. Someone adds something to the cart, but they don't start checkout. They don't buy. They get abandonment emails. If someone buys, they get an automation for, customer thank you, right? Where you share your gratitude and you're basically want to reduce buyer's remorse and confirm their decision as being a good one. And you want to teach them how to do the product, right? And you want to send post-purchase tracking emails, right? So email really is like, there's a logical stepwise function where kind of you have to do a few things. Well, collect emails, set up automation. So if you're brand new and you're a beginner, you want the welcome series for non-buyers. You want the abandoned checkout. That's the furthest down the funnel where people add their information and all that stuff to your store. For whatever reason, they left. They were waiting to see if you had free shipping. They were waiting to see if you're going to have a better discount code available or some discount code available. Maybe they just got distracted, right? Their kid or their boss or their husband or their wife was calling them on the phone. They got distracted. And then the next one is the customer thank you, right? Those are like the basic automations. You're also going to want to send, anywhere from 1 to, let's say, 5 campaigns a week. A campaign is a one-time send to a group of people. Think about a product launch or a holiday offer or a flash sale, right? So there's hundreds of things you could send, right? Yesterday was MLK Day. Could have been an MLK Day email. Right now, right, the weather around the world and in the US at least is insanely cold. So if you're an apparel company, take advantage of that. Segment all your people on the East Coast, like in New York, where it's like 0 degrees, and start sending them saying, hey, we're sorry it's so damn cold. Bundle up with a jacket, a beanie, pants, right? So I think this is probably simpler to understand, where you can segment people based off of so many attributes. In the beginning, start with people that open and click over 90 days. As you go on, segment people that open and click over 90 days and based off their location and understand the weather, right? Like I've been watching a lot of the American football lately, and one of the games got postponed because of the snow in Buffalo, New York, right? Send an email to everyone over there saying like, damn, like the snow's crazy. Hope you're safe. Go buy these snow gears, right? Buy these shovels to get snow off your thing. Buy this beanie to keep your ears warm, right? There's just so many things you can do with email. You just have to think a little bit outside of the box. And then with all this, right, like picking the segments and understanding your deliverability, like that's email, right? There's more to it, but that's like the 5 things that you have to do. Collect emails, have automation set up, send campaigns to the right segments, and make sure that your metrics are healthy. Is that more helpful taking a step back?
Yeah, that's very easy. And yeah, but still, that's fundamental. It's important to understand. If you don't structure it well, you just, like you told, healthy metrics, you can't even understand what's happening. And if you just send over just direct emails to all your database and everything like this, probably you will die from spam rate and something like this. And coming structure to a bigger points, how do you think, what's the difference and how people need to change the way they work with account as a way they grow with the list? For example, 10,000 users in list, 100K in list, and maybe more like 500 in list. Like what's the difference when we have larger lists? You just do more segments and much more emails based on this, or there's something more behind?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for context, the brands that we work with do a minimum of $1 million a year, all the way up to hundreds of millions and sometimes even $1 billion. So the list size is typically, and the minimum is about 25 to 50,000, upwards to we're working with lists 5, 10, 15 million. For the companies that are 6, 7, 8-figure lists, the main thing is just the frequency of emails. Where because there's so many segments, because they're selling so many countries, because there's so many things, like we can't send enough emails. Like we are literally sending 2, 3, 4 emails sometimes a day. We work with a 9-figure brand out of Israel called Mixed Tiles. You see behind me this stuff on the wall, like the customized photos of family, dogs, whatever. With them, I mean, they sell in the US, they sell in a bunch of countries. Sometimes we'll send 4 emails, but that doesn't necessarily mean that one person's going to receive all 4, right?
Yeah.
Um, I found the sweet spot in a given week, depending on what you sell. If you only sell one product, it's harder to send more emails. But if you send multiple SKUs, hundreds of SKUs, thousands of SKUs, if there's a bunch of stuff happening, if you're dropping new things, I think it's the sweet spot for one person on your list receiving emails is probably 2 to 4, right? I think 4 and upwards kind of gets to be the upper threshold of a single person receiving that many emails. Keep in mind too, if you're sending 2 or 3 campaigns to a single person, they might also be eligible to receive 1 or 2 or more automations, right? Say, for example, you send me 3 campaigns in a week. If I view 3 things, or if I add 1 to cart, I view something, I might also trigger a browse abandonment or abandon cart or abandon, checkout. Or if I buy, I might also trigger post purchase. So really be mindful of both like the campaign plus the flow frequency, because someone should not receive more than 4. But what I always recommend is start with 1 campaign per week. Look at your metrics, right? And let's talk about metrics. There's positive metrics. There's things like open rates, click-through rates, replies. There's negative metrics, and obviously conversion rates, right? Like you want people to buy. The negative things would be things like bounces, marked as spam, and unsubscribes. So look at those. And every industry, every vertical has slightly different metrics in which they deem healthy. There are some that are universal. So for example, today at this very moment, 1 out of 1,000 spam complaints is what you're allowed. So basically it's a 0.1% is kind of like what they recommend or want to see. If you go more above that, you can be in trouble. And in February, Google and Yahoo are rolling out new policies where if you get 3 spam complaints out of 1,000, so basically 0.3%, you're going to start getting in trouble. Like you'll start being kind of punished and sent to spam. So the spam rates are going to become a lot more serious in a couple weeks from now. That's very important. With unsubscribes, you typically want at maximum 1 or 2% unsubscribes. The smaller, the better. I have a personal newsletter I run. Typically, my spam complaints are pretty much 0%, right? They're not even enough to be like a 0.1%. And then typically my unsubscribes are 0.1 or 0.2. So it's a 0.1%. So you want minimum of like 1 or 2%. I mean, like minimum, ideally 0.5% or lower is better for unsubscribes. And then there's bounces, right? You want your bounces. So every industry has slightly different things. Open rates right now or have changed, where maybe about 1.5 years ago, something called iOS 15 came out, where essentially it's inflating everyone's email open rate because there's essentially a robot, opening emails. So people have, by the way, this might be over people's heads, but if people have opted into, it's called mail privacy protection, where senders or ESPs can't tell who's actually opening, a percentage of those people on your list are going to inflate your open rate. So before, you wanted on a campaign, let's say a 25 or 30% or higher open rate. Now you want like a 40 or 45% open rate. And there are ways to segment it out. That might be something for later. But there's all these metrics. So long-winded, you want to aim for certain metrics. And I can, if anyone has specific questions on metrics, you can hit me up later. We could post something to the community, whatever. But start with 1, monitor your metrics. Then if the metrics look healthy, send 2 emails per week. Then if the metrics look healthy, send 3. Maybe that third email a week is where you see friction. Maybe the open rates, the click-through rates, the conversion rates drop. You don't want those to drop. You want those to increase or maintain. If those drop and the negative things increase, right? If bounces increase, if market spam increases, as unsubscribes increases, then you know that the number of emails per week that you should most often send is 2, because a third email per week got you in trouble, right? So there's all these different types of things that you want to understand with the metrics to make sure that you're going to be healthy and that your deliverability is strong. There's great free tools. Google Postmaster. Most people have tons of Gmail personal emails. It has Google for work emails. So Google Postmaster you want to set up. It'll basically give you a report and a sense of every day how you are in terms of the metrics. Just like there's Google Analytics for your website traffic, Google has Postmaster for your emails. And it's super important to understand where you're at to make sure that you're being healthy.
Yeah, that's very good one. Also, do you do in some cases, this verification with Google Gmail checkmark?
Are you talking about like is it BIMI? Is it DMARC? Like all the kind of DNS?
No, this blue checkmark in Gmail when you like verify your domain and you have like something like verification with Instagram.
Oh yeah, I don't remember which one that is. I don't know if that's BIMI, but like you have to also in this upcoming update, you have to make sure that you have all your DNS records set up, your SPF, your DMARC, your DKIM. You have to have all these set up. There's also one called BIMI. I think maybe that's the one where like it's the next level of verification. That's how you get the blue checkmark, I believe. Basically, it's like a brand logo.
And
it's
it
not
costs
yet, but
it costs money.
Yeah, it costs money. So I think that's how you get like the logo and the authenticated stuff. I think it's called BIMI. I forget what it stands for. It's like brand identifier or something. It's like some kind of brand or message identifier.
Yeah, but I was just curious if you have tried this, how it's different from just being without it, because usually if you go in spam rates or something, the first thing you see a huge dropout. The first system is Gmail, then it's Outlook, then it's Yahoo. Like Gmail is the most hard one to get back if you have any problem. Coming to this, what could you suggest to people who already have big brands? Like we have guys listening here, somebody are with even more than 10 million in revenue. And in many cases, they have a lot of, like maybe, for example, they have 200, 300 of users in their list, but really people that are receiving is like 10, 15% of those. All others are like that and maybe in spam rate and something. Do you do any kind of, this re-engagement campaigns and try to do this? Because sometimes it's tricky when you try to do this, you also start getting more and more spam rates and decrease open rates,
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, there's a couple of things like, there's everything from like re-engagement and win-back campaigns. And there's also things that you could do where like you could run specific ads to re-engage these people. So say, for example, someone has a list of, let's say 50,000 people that used to be active, used to buy, used to be engaged, but they haven't. You could actually send like that 50,000 person segment or list to Meta, and you could start running kind of like re-engagement campaigns on Meta. And essentially what we're going to look for is we're going to build a segment that says that if these people come back to our website, like basically we're tracking their web behavior. If they're coming back to our website, then send them an email, right? So you can send them emails directly. That's going to work for some of them, right? If you have 50,000 people, you might be able to re-engage maybe a couple thousand people, maybe upwards of 5 or 10,000. Well, you're probably unlikely to reactivate and regate the majority of them, but you could start sending those people specific ads like, we miss you, come back, here's a welcome back offer, right? And if those people are back to being active on your site, that can then trigger an automation that says like, hey, Nick, you must have seen our ad, or hey, Nick, welcome back to our site. We missed you. As a reminder, here's your welcome offer. Hit us up if you have any questions, great to see you again or something, right? Like it's not like a plain text email. Even plain text emails for like re-engagement and win-back emails could be great. A lot of e-commerce non-direct response is very image, brand, kind of HTML heavy, where I always love to mixing in like the occasional plain text email.
Yeah, that's really good.
From a community manager. Not always, but oftentimes those can inbox better. Those can be better received. Those can kind of feel more personal.
But do you do them? We do this maybe once a month, maybe twice, sometimes, especially when an important occasion, like something like thank you from the founder is very good. But do you do this like really plain text, or you still do HTML just without any graphics?
Yeah.
You know,
So yeah, it depends. Like, and even for like my personal list, sometimes it will kind of have like the template where it's like the logo and kind of the sign off, and it kind of looks a little bit more jazzy. And then other times I'll just straight up do actual plain text as is. Um, yeah, with the actual plain text emails, where they're actually plain text, not like the template, you can't set the preview text. You could only set like the subject line, and the preview text is just pulled from the emails. Whereas if you do the actual template, you have a little bit more control over certain things. So it just depends. If the list is active and engaged and knows who you are, knows your name, I like the actual plain text because it's just a little bit nicer, a little bit easier. If people might forget who you are or your name, but they might recognize your logo or something, your colors or whatever, maybe having more of like the templated stuff, but like the actual email with content itself is like plain text and live text. So it just depends. I go kind of back and forth depending on like who it is and what it is and which segment we're sending to.
yeah, that's very good. Okay, Chase, that's very interesting information, and it's very logical about how to do, emails better and the email marketing and top strategies. So maybe shortly, can we recap what's the difference between a small brand in terms of email marketing strategies and the brand which is doing maybe 8 figures, and what's the difference with 9 figures? As for me, I see that it starts with planning, and then it starts with the difference, and that would be my next question about the team structure and how you produce content and how you analyze, the process behind the real emails.
Yeah, let's start with team structure. I think that actually might help leading to the first question. So I'm going to start with kind of the higher end of it, and then we can kind of break it down for smaller people. But like, let's say you're kind of a 7, 8, 9 figure brand, right? Um, and maybe there's other agencies listening to, or should I just talk about brands?
No, we are talking about brands mostly.
Okay. So, all right, I guess maybe it's helpful to distinguish between, but if you're just a brand, I think you need 3 people working on your emails. You need an email marketer, you need a copywriter, and you need a designer, right? If you're an agency, which again, the only reason I'm mentioning it is just to differentiate. The only things different than an agency would have, that we have at least, is like an account manager to manage multiple accounts, not relevant for brands, unless you own a portfolio of companies. Next, maybe you own 3 or 5 or 7 companies, and you have the same team. It might be helpful to have one designate that's actually managing the workflow across all the brands, because one team, 5 brands, it kind of almost acts as like a mini pod or agency. And then the other person that we have on the agency, just because we're churning out so many emails, is we have a dedicated person that's basically what we call an email implementer, someone that's taking the designs and then either custom coding them or slicing and dicing them for all of our clients. So on the brand side, it's typically 3 people. And sometimes the copywriter and the designer could be also doing, copy for ads, copy for landing pages, designs for ads, etc. But you need those 3 people: email marketer. Ideally, they also know SMS. Shouldn't be too hard. Copywriter and designer, and then the agency stuff we mentioned. If you're smaller than the 7, 8, 9 figure brand, you're probably the founder, right, doing the email strategy and maybe the copy, and then you probably just need the designer, right? So if you're small, it's probably the founder doing as much as he or she can with maybe a designer, because typically someone that's good at copy and marketing is not good at design. Like, I could draw stick figures at best, right? Like, I wouldn't be able to do the design. It's hard. And then the other stuff. So that's like the team structure. In terms of like the difference in terms of like how email's done, if you're like a 6-figure brand or you're just getting started, you want to ease into it. You want to build out the core flows, the welcome series for non-buyers, the abandoned checkout, the basic post-purchase. You want to build that out, and you want to be sending, let's say, 1 campaign a week. And as that's kind of dialed in and as you're kind of growing, then you'll build out like the abandoned cart, which is different than the abandoned checkout. You'll build the browse abandonment. You'll maybe add additional emails to the welcome series for non-buyers. You'll start adding in upsells and cross sells. You'll start sending more campaigns per week, right? So essentially, like, regardless of where you are, you need the foundation. And I think the bigger brands have the ability to send more and be more aggressive from the beginning and start sending more advanced things, being more granular in who you're sending to. Because if you're a big brand, an 8-figure brand, you might have 500,000 people on your list. You could do some pretty crazy segmentation and still have like 10,000 people. Whereas if you're a small brand that only has 10,000 people, if you do crazy segmentation, you might only have 100 people. And that's not really worth doing an email to 100 people, right? So it's a whole
Yes.
risk reward, kind of opportunity cost type of a thing. So that's how I think about it. The bigger you are, the more emails you can send, the more sophisticated you can get, the more people can involve. Maybe you bring in people outside to audit and consult with your internal team if you're an 8-figure brand. That was one thing that was really cool. We have this company by this guy named Danny Buck. He's like a entrepreneur out of the UK. He has like one of the fastest growing men's jewelry company called Crafted, 8-figure brand. He's got a couple. He had an internal team, and he like paid our agency to consult because he wanted things that he couldn't see, right? So he was 8-figure scaling crazy. He wanted insights and tactics and tricks and all these things. Whereas if you're a 6-figure brand, you're just trying to get by. Can't afford a consultant. You don't need it. So there's a lot of different things like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's very important. It's a very good idea for you that you told, like to be, I would say, time. Your team is not limitless, with time. And usually, if you force them like to do just a lot of different flows and just campaigns, it sometimes doesn't even work out. So it's even rushing people there is wrong. So it's very important idea. So if to make a logical recap for people here, so in order to fulfill all these campaigns, flows are very important one thing to build. Sometimes you need to go segment first, understand your customers, have a very good analytics, like where are they from, what they done before. Even if you have that audience, you want to re-engage them, but better somehow with other way, don't just spam them with emails like for retargeting with Facebook ads, and just then they come back to your website and then you send something to them. So when you do all this part, and with campaigns, you can do some kind of automations later on, maybe. It's also, Chase, sometimes I see very difficult people to build first flows. They think they know how to build this, but they build them zero results or small results. So sometimes I even say, okay, in this case, is first learn how you told, to make campaigns. One campaign a week, you see it works, then do 2 campaigns, 3 campaigns, then you can improve your flows based on these campaigns as well, Sometimes they rush to do the campaigns because they think they are good, they are big and something like this. But I have seen, these huge mirror boards with all this stuff, but they have never sent even one campaign yet. But they have all this imaginary flow, how people will buy 5 times from them. So it's sometimes not really wise even to invest all this time, and when you don't have a team like even 3 people and you start with one email marketing. So it's very important to understand this, I think, and thank you for all this information. So if you speak about the analytics part, which is very important in terms of this email marketing guy, or maybe even a department if you have some, how you would structure the process? And I have 2 questions here. So when you do all this, you have sent us a lot of samples, how you do analytics, how you do like maybe location bias, or you track what they did on website. But do you have any kind of process which could be easy to implement in terms of analytics? Because I think this is very important part in order to do everything else later on. And the second part of the question, copycats cannot innovate, but still, how do you, track competitors? I know there are several tools, maybe use some of them to keep the pace with the market and just become better or average, but not less.
Yeah, good questions. In terms of like reporting and kind of KPIs, we typically run weekly reports for all of our clients. So, we're looking at like weekly revenue. We're looking at revenue between campaigns and flows. We're looking at open rates, click-through rates, A/B tests, and we're basically reporting on all of these things so we can try to understand where. And this A/B test that we ran, when we did this type of subject line versus that subject line, we had better results, right? We're doing tests around what time of day should people be receiving it, which day should people be receiving it, right? The frequency. So we're basically, noting and kind of recording on a weekly basis and reviewing this ourselves and reviewing this with clients. So that way we can understand on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis, we're doing a kind of a more elaborate, robust report, and on a quarterly basis, right? So we kind of have touch points weekly, monthly, quarterly, obviously semi-annually, where we're looking at different things. We're looking at things week to week, month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year, and trying to identify trends and trying to say like, we work with a lot of companies in the apparel category, across the, 24 categories or people in that category. What is the same? What is different? What's working on a micro, macro level? So we've kind of built in things that we share with clients and also internal things where we can get a pulse of like, oh man, every single client now needs to go run out this. It's really cold on the East Coast campaign because that's working really, really well. So there's just a lot of stuff that we learn by just looking at it, right? I think a lot of people run the tests and they have the data, they just fail to actually be mindful on reviewing it. So I think that's like one is like, you have the data, use it, look at it, right? Don't just collect it and let it collect dust, right? Implement it, utilize it. That's number one. And then what was the second question again? The second question. So the first one was on analytics. And the second question was,
was connected to this, like analytics, not internal, but external. But how you compare with competitors?
Yes. So there's a couple things. One is like we have just like an email address. It's like design at, in our agency's name, where we basically go sign up to our clients' emails and also our competitors' emails. So we have like our own swipe file within there. And then there's also tools like mail.com, really good emails, mail charts. There's all these tools out there where you can see, a bunch of people that they're doing. And then also too, like, I think not only taking inspiration from your competitors, but taking inspiration from like way out there companies. So for example, like we do a lot of branded e-com, nice looking, but high converting stuff. We might be looking at like hardcore direct response, supplement stuff that's not like directly competitive, or we might be looking at like hardcore direct response info products and trying to, what can we learn from info world and bring it to e-com, right? So we're just looking at like things in our category. Obviously, it's the obvious, but the non-obvious one is like, what are the things we can learn from outside of our category that's working?
Yeah, that's very good. You told very interesting thing inside. Like our community consists a lot of from immigrant entrepreneurs, so a lot of them. Sometimes they don't understand maybe the history of marketing is in US, and I think it's very good and interesting, like sales letters, direct mails, which was way before emails. Yes. They were so good, but you didn't have any opportunity to track them and everything. It was like Ogilvy and all these guys who know how to do really good copy, and it's all from these basics. And how do you think? Do you use some kind of approaches like we in our agency, for example? We have even cuts from old magazines or something. It's very good, and insightful sometimes to create a very different for your emails from what the market has and something like this. Do you do some kind of approach like with direct mails, like physical ones?
Yeah, so some of my favorite ads are like old school car ads, like Porsche. If you look at Porsche or like Volkswagen or some of those, BMW, like they have some amazing ads. And I do like a podcast, and I was talking on a recent episode on the podcast about like, I'm just going to be blunt. Most companies are boring. They're vanilla. They're soft. They're afraid of getting canceled. Like there's no personality, right? They're just so boring. Or like when you look at some of these ads, like from Porsche, it's like talks about getting laid and like the car that goes faster. And you didn't dream of saving your money to buy it on a Honda, right? You want the Porsche. You want to take the fast lane. You want to live on the edge. So I think like the biggest thing that I've learned from studying some of these old school print ads, whether they're like Gary Halbert or some of like the famous, other direct response copywriters, Eugene Sword, some of these people, just the copy was very emotion driven, very response driven, very psychological based. Right now it's like, here's a picture and it's like, we launched a new product, and it's like, I hope that they like our new product. It's like, it's just boring. Where we worked with some really cool companies where we worked with one called Nugs, where it's like a chicken nugget alternative, and they were so funny. And one of our clients right now is a client called Poopery, which is a spray for the bathroom, right? And we have like this thing called the poo club for people that poop, and they're just not afraid to like lean into being different. We have this company called balls.co, which is a men's trimmer, right? It's like a men's razor, and like it's just like funny. And when you take a stance and you're a little bit, I don't want to say controversial, because you can do all this stuff without being controversial, without being kind of rude or polarizing. But when you take a stance, you kind of attract the people that are fanatics. You don't want a list of 100,000 people that are maybe about you. You want you'd rather have a list of 10,000 or 20,000 people that are diehard. anything that you do, anything that you wear, anything that you post about is like what they want. Like if you think about it right now in pop culture, anything Taylor Swift touches, the people are diehard. They love her. Whereas like name any other celebrity or star, I can't even think about another one like that sells like that. Everyone else is kind of just playing it safe, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's very interesting one. I always share this idea, like we like do feature reviews, and sometimes if the brand is funny, it's working well. So like in 2020, there was a case on Amazon when oversized females, she posted like her picture in leggings. She was like climbing the mountain, but she was afraid to come down from the mountain, so she was like struggling and was rolling down the mountain like this, and somebody took a picture of her, so she posted the picture and told like, I was coming up the mountain and I was afraid to go downstairs, and so and the leggings, they was fine, no scratches, nothing, so I will buy like tens of them of different colors now. So, such kind of approaches, which is emotional based and experience based, they're very good. So if brand is funny, you can be funny. If brand is about bold statement like Porsche, you should be bold. So it's, I think, very important. And maybe last questions from there. So it's it's buzzword right now. But
AI.
still, AI, ChatGPT, or a different one, do you use any of those, or you prefer writing it person?
It's interesting. Both. So for personal stuff, for like my personal brand, for my own content, for certain things, I do use a lot of AI. It's great for ideation. It's great for reviewing. It's great for feedback. I use it a lot. At our agency, we haven't quite rolled it out or adopted it yet. We're kind of a premium service, premium agency. We work with amazing brands. Um, I have a few partners. I got two partners. They were a little concerned on how people would feel for charging 5, 10, 15, $20,000 a month if clients found out we were using AI. So the agency, we still are kind of like on the fence about rolling it out. But personally, I am obsessed with it. I use it a lot. I run and own maybe a dozen and a half or 2 dozen social channels, like my personal ones and a bunch of theme pages, probably around 1 million followers in network. A lot of the content there is AI generated, goes viral. I probably racked up maybe 50 to 75 million impressions on content that was generated with AI in the past 6 months, maybe 12 months. So I'm obsessed with AI. I think it's huge. I've even built my own custom GPTs that write threads on Twitter, that write tweets, that write emails. So I'm a huge geek. I love it. I run one of the largest AI pages on LinkedIn called AI Evolution. We get about 5 million impressions a month on our content. So I'm super bullish on it. I think it's amazing.
Okay. But not in agency. It's very interesting.
Not in the agency yet. But I use it for a lot of my own stuff, and I really like it. I'm very bullish on it. I've been pushing the agency to do it. We're just not there yet. It's very hard, I think, for medium to large companies. We have maybe, I don't know, 120, 140 people right now at the agency. It's hard for us at this size to roll out AI to everyone. Whereas like the companies that I run that are smaller, I own a couple other companies that are smaller that are 1 person, 3 people, 5 people. We rolled it out like this. You're with it or you're not, right? So I think like some of these companies that are thousands or tens of thousands of employees, it's really challenging. I think people want to use it and could and should use it. It's just hard. I also think even AI for like taking long form videos like this and pulling out clips. There's a lot of really cool use cases where like clip editors, I get DMs all the time, emails all the time on their service. It's like, why would I pay thousands of dollars where I can do with AI and $20 a month in 2 minutes, right? So yeah, I love AI.
Okay, that's good. You're creating like with this competition for your agency maybe, but I think for now maybe just the meaningful communication and the deep insight, and AI is a lot about copycats like stuff, maybe because it's based on all the data of the market, and what you do maybe is a little bit different and unique, and it's just harder to put all the structure you have in AI together right now. Okay, Chase, it was very interesting and inspiring to talk about all this stuff. I hope you guys have a lot of information. It was maybe hard, but trust me, everything Chase shared with you. As I told you before, there is no magic buttons. You just need to do a lot of work. And if you structure it back, you need to do a lot of analytics. You need to know how to build flows, how to step by step grow your campaigns, not to have some, guide lists, huge amount of audience. So you need all these 5 steps as Chase told us. Can you recap, please? Help me with your way. Collect lists.
Yeah. So collect emails, set up automated flows, send campaigns, make sure you're sending the right segments, understand and monitor your metrics so that way your deliverability is strong.
Yes, that's okay. Very important ones. I think if you dive deeper and really invest your time and help your team whenever, it doesn't really matter if you have right now a good team or not, you can always hire a better team. But right now, I think it's very good for you to focus there, because 2024, as all the trends last years, it will be more and more every year expensive with ads. Like last 3 years, ads doubled at least. So you want to have all this work done in your emails, or you want to be thriving on the market. You need to do this, and I will be talking about this tomorrow before going and doing all these ad campaigns and investing hundreds of thousands in your ads, which you, trust me, after listening to me tomorrow, you will want to do this. But first, you need to do what Chase has told you. You need to learn how to do your email communities. Then you can do all the other parts.
Yeah.
So thank you, Chase, for your information. I hope to see you more inside our community. See you.
For having me. This was a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you guys all for listening. Hopefully it was valuable.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a good one.